Good morning. Hi, this is Felicia Smith, and I am so happy to be on my debut show, Front Row Conversations, having authentic conversations with pastors' wives that connects and support their emotional and spiritual wholeness for a purpose for living. And my guest today is First Lady Clytemnestra Clarke. Hi, Cly.
Hi, good morning.
Good. It's so great to have you here this morning. And Clarke is the First Lady of First Church of God in Columbus, Ohio. She is also the Director of Congregation Care, and she has a plethora of other ministries. So our show title this morning is called And I Am Married to the Pastor. And we're going to talk about understanding and embracing one's uniqueness as a first lady or a ministry partner. So, Clyde, you have been in this thing a very, very long time. So just share with us a little bit about what it means to understand and embrace your uniqueness as a first lady. And just give us some of your journey stories, how you started out and where you are now.
Sure. Well, we started out, and as I thought this through, it's been about over 35 years ago now. And
Right.
it partly seems that it's been that long, but 35 years ago, ministry was, I think, a lot different, at least for us, than it
Right.
is now.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a smaller congregation, but I believe during that time, that was a learning ground for me. As the saying goes, I kind of cut my teeth there in Warren, Ohio, at our first church.
Uh-huh.
Learned a lot of valuable lessons that then I was able to transfer, as we were called, to the church here in Columbus, Ohio, over 30 years ago. And I tell you, it's been a good run. There have been challenges, but all in all, I think if we take our challenges and use them as growth tools,
Mm-hmm.
we come out better, we are more successful, and we're more healthier because I just believe your attitude really makes the difference in how you or how well you do in ministry. It's an attitudinal thing and an attitudinal adjustment, I believe, that really helps you make it in ministry.
All right. So attitude is key and an essential. So I guess what I got from that was that helps you to embrace your uniqueness. Do you feel a lot of pastors' wives really get that or understand that piece as we walk alongside our spouses in ministry?
I Not all the time. I think there's sometimes this whole mindset that it's a certain way, and I think that comes sometimes from maybe how you grew up or what you saw growing up, what you saw your pastor's wife, what that role was, and I think sometimes it can be challenging, and so how they look at it or how they understand it, I think depends on what they brought to the table. Um,
Oh.
what they really thought ministry was about. Some people think
Mm-hmm.
they see the glitz and the glamour of it, and it's I want to do that, I want to be that, but not really fully understanding that it really takes more. And
Mm-hmm.
again, you have to bring something to it.
So you're saying it's more than the reserved parking space or
Sure,
seats
sure,
on the
sure.
chair? Oh my goodness, I thought that was it, really. Okay.
No,
So it's
no.
more than the reserved parking space or more than the reserved seat in the sanctuary.
It's a whole lot more than that.
A whole lot. Well, how does one maintain their and I'm going to use the word authentic voice. And Gail Sylvia, and I just want to say a special thank you to Sylvia Global
Mhm.
for this opportunity to have these real conversations. And I was watching something that she said around voice, and she says, and I'm going to read it, says, each of us has a voice within that moves us forward in association with our dreams. Do you think sometimes as a ministry partner or first lady, we get so caught up in the ministry that we stop dreaming for our own lives? Could you say something about that?
I think that can happen, and I think that's real. Sometimes there's the enmeshment, a counseling term that's used sometimes is enmeshment,
Mm-hmm.
where you don't really know who you are because you're so enmeshed with who the partner is, and you find your identity in what he does. And yet
Mm-hmm.
I believe that God has given us, like you said, a voice, or given us a purpose. And I think in the midst of it you have to find your own purpose.
Okay. Well, how do you do that? If someone is listening to this and they're just starting ministry, in the middle of ministry, what would you say to them? How do you find your purpose?
Yeah, I think first of all it comes with understanding who you are.
Okay.
I think that's where a lot of the issues are, or the issues lie, is because when you don't know who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and I think knowing also who you are in Christ, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to know who you are, um, and then you have to walk in God's purpose for your life. and
Okay.
and I think it's adding anytime you can do that, you're adding to the ministry. When you
Wow.
know your purpose and know who you are, it can only add, it can only help. And I think a lot of times, a lot of pastors' wives, they're confused about really who they are. They don't understand that. And that, to me, that's a process. I know
Okay.
for myself, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen right away. But as I continued my walk with God,
Mm-hmm.
God defined and made clear for me my purpose.
Clyde, you're not only, you are a licensed counselor and you have your own ministry in your own right. And also you are one of my sister girlfriends, but I want you, can you address, you guys started small, and you would be considered today by the terms of mega churches, you would be considered a mega church because you have thousands of members. How were you able to transition as the growth occurred? How are you able to grow as well? Because sometimes your churches can grow and you can still be stuck when you had 15 members or
Yeah,
50 members. Can
yeah,
you say something about
yeah.
that?
I think that's a very good point. Like you said, you can become stuck. And I know for myself, it was and if I can use the word, a fearful or scary journey, because it required more of me.
Mm,
I was comfortable. When we were at a 200 setting, I had just learned to be comfortable there. And then as we grew to about 500, that
mm-hmm.
stretched me a little more. And then the more we grew, the more I had to stretch. I had no
Okay.
choice, because if I didn't allow God to stretch me, and sometimes it was uncomfortable, because
Mm,
one of the things I had to learn, it was different ministering to a smaller congregation than a larger congregation, because the needs were varied. And I think
mm.
that's the thing that I had to learn, is now how do I minister? Because after a while, I had successfully ministered to a smaller congregation, but when it grew, then it's like,
Oh,
now how do I minister to the needs that
wow.
are here? Because the needs are different, and here's the challenge, even more. As the congregation evolves, the needs that I was dealing with maybe 5, even 10, 10 years ago, even 5 years
Right.
ago, they're
Right.
even different today. There are new
Okay.
things that I've encountered. And so, again, that keeps me on my P's and Q's, and that keeps me having to continue to dig in the Word, to find other resources, to reach out, and even to get help, and get help from other pastors' wives that they are already there. And so, that helps me then, because I can kind of use them as mentors and models.
Right. You said a couple of things. You said as God stretched you, and I thought that was real interesting, as opposed to the people stretching you. So,
Yeah, well,
uh,
he used the people to stretch me.
okay, God can use the people to stretch you.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a good point. And it sounds like also what I heard was about flexibility. You have to be flexible. But here's the question: what spiritual disciplines are you incorporating in your life to be able to embrace the stretching when it comes? Because it will come and it does come.
Yes. Well,
Mhm.
here's the thing. Prayer, having a
Uh,
devotional life and a prayer life, that has always been in it, and it continues to be something that I'm passionate about.
mhm.
That's kind of what helps me to stay focused. That's what helps me to maintain a balance in my life. And I just think balance is important. But staying before God, really keeping yourself filled up.
Right.
Sometimes we can deplete ourselves. We
Mm.
can get on E because we're giving. There's
Yes.
so much expected from us, from the congregation, from husbands, from families, from friends. And if you're not careful, or if you don't find a breakaway place, somewhere that you can go and somewhere that you can actually replenish or refresh yourself, then it can cause you really to go into a state of depression. It can cause you to be,
Mm. Okay.
despondent, because you're giving, but you have to maintain, I think, a devotional life. And for me,
Okay.
that's what has helped me over the years. When I couldn't
Mhm.
talk to anyone, I knew I could always talk to God, and
Yes.
it helped me to
Okay.
believe His
Mhm.
word. It helped me to grow because sometimes, our faith is put to the test, and a lot
Yes.
of things that we read, that we say, that we testify about, when the challenge comes, and when those things happen,
Okay.
I think God
Right.
puts us to the test to say, okay,
Right.
now let me see if you really mean what you say. And so, yeah,
Mm.
devotional life is so important.
So I thought it was just like at least keeping your, hair and nail appointments. Okay, but it is
I
it's
know
the
that's right.
devotional life. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Clyde, what do you see? And I wanted to ask you this question, and I think you've kind of hit on a lot of things. Would you
Hmm.
say that you see your partnership in ministry as a role or a calling or both as you have walked alongside your husband Bishop Clarke all these years? Was it a role or is it a calling? Is it a both? Because the reason why I say that, because
Hmm.
you and I know both, we hear people say, girl, honey, God called him, he didn't call me. And so
Yeah.
let's address that. Let's talk about that.
Sure. I think it can be both. I think both perspectives can be in order, but I do
Hmm.
feel in at some level you do have to be called to
Hmm.
walk alongside a ministry partner, um, and and I think even as far as it being God's will,
Mm.
you if you've prayed about it and believe that it's God's
Yes.
will, then I
Hmm.
believe that then God makes all the provision that you need. And
Hmm.
I think it's both, but I do believe that it takes a special and unique woman,
Oh,
really.
okay.
Yeah, I do. I
Why
believe
why do you
that.
say that? Why do you say special and unique woman?
Because I think everyone again brings something to the table,
Mhm.
to ministry.
Okay. Mhm.
um I think, though, when you as ministry goes on and there are certain challenges that you encounter, i
Mhm.
I just have to believe that God gives you the special grace. God
Oh.
gives you, yeah, God gives you grace. He um he gives you the wisdom. He gives you what you need. And and I, I I'm not, I don't want to say that not everyone, I think,
You
is
can say it.
equipped.
It's authentic
Okay, okay,
conversations. Okay,
okay.
go
Well,
ahead.
everybody is not equipped sometimes and
Right.
qualified,
Right. Right.
to really fit the bill. And that's not an indictment, but
Mhm.
that's just from even conversations that I've had with other pastors' wives, when
Mm.
they discover I didn't sign up for this. I didn't know it
Wow.
was like this. Or nobody told me I had to do all of this. And so then it makes you question, okay, then why did you come into to ministry?
Right.
What were your perspective? What was your perspective on ministry? What did you think ministry was about? And I just think it's a special and unique calling. And
Okay, that's a
And
good piece.
yeah,
Yes, but Clyde, you mentioned something earlier, and I also mentioned it when I talked about front row conversations. And the reason why I chose that title because traditionally pastors' wives sit on the first or the second row. I sit on the front row. I've been to your church, you sit on the second row, and then some people sit on the back row. So,
yeah,
but the whole point is authentic conversations. But I talked about emotional and spiritual health for purposeful living. And you said something about the health of it. Could you say more about how important, as we embrace and understand our uniqueness, that the emotional and spiritual health, how important that is, and how you've seen that from a professional standpoint and also as a first lady?
yeah. Yes, I think in ministry you do have to find a way to take care of yourself. Um, I don't think a lot of times we do a good job at it as women because,
Mm-hmm.
again, we're so busy doing instead of being sometimes. We're
Mm.
busy trying to please everyone, be there for everyone. And there are times that we neglect what's really important. I really don't believe you can be healthy for a congregation, for your husband or anyone, unless
Right,
you're
right.
doing some things to enhance and to help
Mm-hmm.
yourself really maintain emotional health. And that may mean finding, a group of trusted confidants to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
That may mean counseling, going to get professional counseling. It may mean just trying to make sure that, again, while you're helping everyone else, you're doing what's necessary for yourself. I think
Okay.
mental health is important. I think we minimize it, and I'll go on to
Ah,
say this too. Even in the church,
yes.
it's not always been something that we've embraced. How it used to go, whatever goes on in this house stays in this house. And
Yes.
I think that can be, a detriment to your emotional health because some things maybe that go on in the house are not healthy things. And
Right.
so I think you have to find a way to break away. You have to find a way to do some things that's going to help you, like I said, emotionally, maintaining emotional balance. As you're happy, and I've always said this, your husband's going to be happy, your family's going to be happy, and the church is going to be happy. When
Right.
you're
So
not
it's
happy, and I mean it's a
that's the
thermometer.
reality.
Yeah.
That is the
When you're not
reality.
happy, yeah, nobody's happy.
Nobody is happy and stuff. So that is a great, great point as we look at this thing in terms of what it means to, embrace your uniqueness. And I was reading a book not too long ago called, and I'm looking at it over here if it seems I'm looking away, The Joy and Pain of Ministry, When the
Mhm.
Pastor is Our Husband. And it talks about the joy and pain of ministry. And so there were several surveys that were taken that the author did, and it said that most ministry wives felt fulfilled in their role, and but she found it was very interesting. The younger ministers' wives, when they were starting, were less satisfied.
Mhm.
And the old longer you have been in the ministry, the more satisfied you are. Can you say a little about that? Would you agree with that or disagree with that?
Well, I think, well, first of all, let me say this about happiness. And I know I just made a comment
Yes,
prior about
yes.
happiness, but
Hmm.
happiness is a choice. I
Okay,
just
I like that.
that happiness is a choice. Um, you choose to be happy. You can't allow people or circumstances to,
Mm,
dictate your happiness. Okay,
mhm,
because if so, you'll be, emotionally unstable, just
mhm, mhm.
emotionally unstable. But I think generally, I think when you first come into the ministry, again, if you came
Right.
in with the perspective that, like you said, it's about the glitz, the glamour, the parking
Yes.
space, the second seat, and all of that, then I think it becomes delusional because then once the thick, and the thin of the ministry starts, and you're thinking, wow. I didn't
Mhm.
think it was like this. But I think what makes it happier as you go along is by the time you're in ministry for a while, and especially if you're in ministry with a partner
Yes.
that is very inclusive,
Mhm.
and that values your opinion, or that
Mhm.
sees you really as a part of the ministry. I
Mhm.
think that that helps. And then as you have a history and a journey together, I
Mhm.
think the satisfaction then comes because
Okay.
you're
That's
being
good.
fulfilled, and
Mhm.
you're feeling like you're making a contribution, or that you're contributing.
Okay, that's a good piece. And in this book, the author also talks about that most women felt comfortable helping their husbands' ministries in the background or in a supportive manner. What has been your experience with this? Particularly, let's talk about that,
Hmm.
how the pastor wives feels in terms of helping their husband, particularly those women who may be professional women, who may
Hmm.
have other gifts
Hmm.
that could or could not be used in the ministry. How, let's
Hmm.
just talk about that because sometimes that doesn't play out
Yeah.
as well as it should, depending on the personality of the pastor, depending on the
Right.
personality of the first lady. And as you know, I am a first lady. Lord help the pastor. Okay, but anyway, but anyway, let's talk about that in terms of if you could give some advice, free, of course.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what would you say about that with your maneuvering your gifts in ministry as we support
Right.
our husbands? Hmm.
Well, I do believe your gift makes room for you. And,
Okay.
God, I don't believe God would gift you or give you certain giftings and
Hmm.
then just kind of leave you, or leave
Right.
you off to
Hmm.
yourself. And I believe that the giftings that you have, again, they are valuable to the ministry,
Hmm. Hmm.
and we have to understand again, and you and I have talked about this. When I say our place, so to speak,
Right.
is
Hmm.
that ultimately, the pastor, your husband, he's the one
Yes.
that's called, and he's the one that's responsible
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
for the ministry. Um, so understanding that, it goes back to the support piece of being very supportive, and finding out how can I support you,
Hmm.
in ministry. And as far as like you said, being professional, I
Hmm.
think that that can add, if
Hmm.
it can add to the ministry, if the partner believes that it's something that's going to be of value, or that's going to be
Right.
of help. Um,
Hmm.
but again, I think your gift makes room for you, and I believe whatever gifting you have,
Right.
God uses it, or He can use it in such a way that it can still bless your congregation. Um,
Yes. Yes.
it, it can bless your congregation.
And I think one of the greatest lessons, some of us are hard headed. One of the greatest lessons that I had to realize, and I think this was a conversation that I had with myself, that ultimately my spouse was the one that was called to the ministry in the sense that the vision rested with him, the responsibility
Hmm.
for the parishioners would be upon him and upon his shoulders. And I think once I got that, it's not that I didn't know it, but it was
Hmm.
kind of like once I got that, particularly as I joined him in ministry full time, I was like, okay, I'm not responsible for this, but I am responsible for walking in my calling and being that support person. And I think
There you
sometimes
go.
there's some of the frustration because we're like,
Yes.
we're going to walk in and, in the corporate world, I was this, I was that, and I'm going
Right.
to come in
Right.
and turn this around. And then I had to like, whoa, slow down,
Right.
kind of stay in your lane. And I think the key, what you said, your gifts do make room for you. And that's a very, very important piece. Do you feel that over the years that you've had the opportunity to walk out your calling or live it? I know you have, but I'm just asking this questions anyway. And if so, how has that been possible for you? Because I didn't go into all the things that you do, but clearly you bring a valuable piece there to First Church of God in Columbus, Ohio. So talk about that, your own journey, your gifts, the things that you're doing, what you're involved in, those type of things.
Sure. As a matter of fact, prior to coming on at the church, and I think now I've been here over maybe 11 years now on
Okay.
staff at the
Mm-hmm.
church. But prior to that, I worked for the state of Ohio in the employee assistance program. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of the skills, a lot of what I was able to use with the state in
Mm-hmm.
council there, it transferred to my position as
Mm-hmm.
director of congregational care, here at
Mm-hmm.
the church. And for that, I'll forever be grateful because
Mm.
my husband for allowing me the opportunity to come on staff, in a capacity where what I had done professionally now could, I could do professionally as well as spiritually at the church.
Okay.
And so I think that has been a blessing, and it has helped me, and I hope for him it has been a blessing to him and to this congregation because I
Wow.
enjoy it and I enjoy doing what I do.
Mm-hmm.
A part of my gifting is help. So
Yes, I
um,
would say
I
that, definitely.
yeah, and so I enjoy that, and again, I pray it's been a blessing.
Well, we have a couple of minutes, and I just want you to take these last couple of minutes to talk about your book that's going to be coming out in December. I'm excited. Say a little more about that for me.
Sure. Wow. About I would say almost 20 years ago, I had this stirring in my spirit that I wanted to write a book about my experience in ministry in an attempt to help other pastors' wives who were coming along. I know one of the disadvantages that I probably had early on in ministry, I didn't really have what I would consider, mentors, or didn't have the freedom I felt maybe to talk to other pastors' wives about their experiences. And so I think that's where the idea kind of translated from just write about your experience, and maybe it could help others who are new to the ministry or who have had thoughts or wondered, I wonder if this is normal. I wonder, is this
Right.
something that someone else has experienced? And then I was impressed last year to ask some of the women from the Berean Fellowship, our Berean Fellowship, the pastors' wives there, if they would as well write articles or submissions for the project, which you as well was one of the ones, and I appreciate that. And I just think the experience is going to be valuable because not only do you hear my perspective, but you hear perspectives from some of the other pastors' wives who they kind of detailed some of the things that they went through. So I'm excited about that. Initially, I was going to release it in October, but felt to just wait, and I want to do it now December,
What's
the
the name
beginning of
of the
December.
book? Tell us
The
the
name of
name.
the book is Welcomed Wisdom. Welcomed
Okay,
Wisdom.
welcome wisdom. Well,
Mhm.
Clyde, you know you are one of my mentors and more than that, a sister and a friend. And thank you for being on this debut show. It has been
Yeah,
a wonderful time. Yay! Front
yeah,
row conversations. And also we're thankful to Gail Sylvia for allowing me
yeah.
this opportunity as well. And I just want to close with this scripture, which is so important to me. Philippians 1:6 says, God who began a good work in you will bring it to
Gonna do it.
completion to the day of Jesus Christ. And so I'm glad about that piece as we have talked about what it means to embrace and understand our uniqueness as pastors' wives. So thank you for joining me on Front Row Conversations. It's been great
Thank
Yay, yay,
you.
yay. All
Thank you.
right.
And this
So
is
go,
great and so much needed. And so thank
yes.
you for the work that you're doing in this line. Thank you.
All right. And next week we'll be meeting with Pastor Vicky Keys, and we're talking about I'm married and I'm in it. We'll be looking at the importance of healthy marriage in the lives of the pastor and his family. All right. Thank you, Clyde.
Thank you. All
All
righty.
right. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.